under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Persing?
Here.
Snyder?
Here.
Martello?
Here.
Troop?
Here.
Ister?
Here. Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody had a nice holiday season. We'll try to get through this as fast as we can so you can get back to your families. I guess we have two budgets here in front of us. So Todd, why don't you just start this meeting off?
I guess after our last group meeting to talk about the budget, I think we all left with the hope that we were going to be able to raise wages without a tax increase. At that point in time, we still had about a $30,000 difference to close. I sent out on the 20th a draft of the budget via email to everyone that included revisions to accommodate a wage increase for employees at 2% without the need for a tax increase, accommodating some additional reductions in expenses to do that. I have a summary sheet that's provided, which is your annualized planning budget report for 2013, that shows a draft A and a draft B. Now what I did is, after I got basically that draft assembled, I sent that version off to Brenda to make sure that nothing was missed that I would have excluded. And then I received, I guess probably about 2 or 3 days later, a version of the budget prepared by, I guess, Jim and Kevin.
And Beth and Terry, full of sick.
Which I know we weren't able to participate, I guess, in that meeting because we didn't know what was happening. But that is draft B of the budget that's shown. There were some things after we went through that, because I had Brenda also look at that version of the budget, and based on some of the adjustments to wages and such in there, expenses needed to be accounted for as well. So, until it was all said and done, as you'll see on page 5, there was a $5,600 overage, or $5,200 overage on draft B, which still would need to be worked through. Draft A, I did make a couple adjustments to it. I'll explain exactly what those were.
Okay, Todd, which is A and which is B here?
The one that's marked A and the one that's marked B in the summary sheet that I provided.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Draft B is the version that you guys prepared. Draft A is the version that I had sent out. The only changes that I made to draft A were as a result of, I guess, your meeting. It was uncovered that our engineer is going to be going off of the health insurance. So there was a $10,000 savings of him going off of health insurance. I took that $10,000 in draft A and used it to reduce some revenue and expense, which I highlighted in red.
Doesn't that also show up under the reimbursement? So wouldn't that lower the reimbursement also? So that would be a wash, wouldn't it, his health insurance? Because he reimburses us for that
Correct.
Health insurance just like the solicitor. So that would be a wash on either side. It wouldn't be a savings.
But the reimbursement still shows up in draft A.
Yeah, and that's easy enough to pull out. So even if I put that back in, we were still basically, at that point in time, that version showed a $1,600 variance in draft A. So I guess since it seems like at this point in time, Terry, Beth, Jim, and Kevin would like to talk through draft B, and that's obviously the version that they want to vote on, I'll turn it over to them.
Well, let's back up here. How much difference is there between draft A and B?
All the revisions, everything that you see that's a difference is highlighted in red. So if you go down draft A's columns and draft B's columns, you'll see, for example, the first one that's highlighted in red in draft B is a $2,000 adjustment from what was in draft A. So all the actual line items that have a difference between the two, whether it's up or down, is highlighted red for your convenience.
Quick question, do either of them have neither of them have tax increases, right?
Neither of them have tax increases.
But the one you're showing A has a $10,000 deficit now because of the reimbursement. Because you're gonna have to take $10,000 out of the revenue. And B shows $40,000 more in revenue.
It's already out.
Okay.
It would be out either way.
Health insurance?
Yeah, it's still 55,000.
It's not out in the revenue on A.
No, but the easiest thing actually, the easiest thing to do there is to actually just take the $10,000 that I had moved from a couple other items, which
Okay.
were the swimming pool revenue, the skating rink snack bar revenue, and also the expenses where I basically transported prisoners, for example, and just put that $10,000 right back in.
So but we're making a pay raise on revenue that we have no guarantee that we're going to get. I mean, at least if it was a capital expenditure like a roof at the skating rink or something like that, and we didn't have the money for it, we could always take it back and move it to the next year. Wages are a promise we can't take back. Wages we have to pay either way, whether we have the money or not.
So Doug, what do you get $55,000 difference from the budget that we put together?
That's based on the fact that you have wage adjustments that didn't accommodate FICA costs.
Oh, that's right. We did say
Adjustments
that
and
after we were done,
unemployment.
didn't we? Yeah, we did say that after we were done.
The other version.
No, that was off 1,600 at the time, which was obviously closed. So either way, it's as simple as you guys wanted A, and I was just providing draft, or you guys wanted B, I provided A as an alternative. So talk through your line items and reach your conclusion as to what you actually want, and then go ahead and vote.
Well, first of all, mostly what we did was on that draft, unless you want to speak, Joe, is we went through it and we just snack bar, because I'm not quite sure if the snack bar is going to be third party down or yet or not. So if it does get a third party down the line, it's going to benefit us. If it doesn't, it's not going to be an expense. So we had to calculate that in because it's still open January 1.
We did, we were actually going to phase it out in June.
Right, but we still
That was
have to
the
account
other-
for it. But so if we don't, phase it out, if we do, or whatever, it's going to benefit if we do. So
But you actually, no, actually it doesn't, because what you did in your draft B is your draft B still based on just wages for the snack bar and your supply costs for the snack bar. You're still showing in your budget a $10,000 loss on just those items alone. Based on your revenue.
Don't you have a markup of Stanford?
You should.
You should, ask Jim.
Well, we should know, but we're just showing it was fine 25, it was 35.
It's the
You're
highest.
still showing in your revenue for the snack bar. You're
It's the
still
highest
showing
profit.
on your revenue for snack bar a $10,000 difference between it and your expenses for wages and supplies alone for snack bar.
Todd, then it's obvious that should have been raised.
What, your revenue?
Yes.
You can't, because historically you've never made that money.
So how can we just imaginarily raise it?
And that's why I thought that, everyone,
You're going to take loss. I know you're going to be raised. You know you're going to take loss.
So why budget?
you have a
Well,
loss.
secondly, we gave everybody 2% raised.
Both versions have a 2% raise.
Okay, and third is, the federal office of vehicles were in really sad shape, and we spent $17,000 there to purchase a new truck. Which I call, look at that truck was $69,900, very low flat.
What do they need that for? They don't really run around town.
And we lease all of
Well,
our
look at it
vehicles.
this way, the federal office is out there about right now, and they find a little trash or something, and,
Well, that would be my call, wouldn't it? If it's my department, I would ask for a new vehicle if I thought we needed it.
You don't think we need it?
No, I don't think we need it, especially if we're getting 2 new police cars. Why can't we just take the old?
Did you hear what happened to the last car last week?
No, no, my guys don't report to me. Yeah. Well, they must have told you like they usually do. Go ahead. Go ahead, tell
At
me.
least I know they're having engine problems, that's what I was told.
Well, we just had it repaired. We just spent.
And they came back one, Joe.
Yeah, well,
But wouldn't we
need a
actually
different driver, I think.
follow just like we do with our other vehicles? I mean, your public works vehicles, the police department vehicles, those are leased. Wouldn't it make more sense if we actually do have a legitimate need for a vehicle, which I can certainly understand, those things come about last minute, you toss things in, that would actually accommodate it in a similar fashion, instead of capitalizing that entire expense? Especially knowing that we're down to the point where just a few dollars here and there make all the
Service the city of
difference.
Sunbury, doesn't pull our.
What was that, Todd?
I said we're down to the point where a few dollars and cents make all the difference in the world. So
I don't know
we can
where we're going to get
actually
the vehicle.
put a lease expense in versus a capitalization cost.
What kind of vehicle?
We can spread that out, just like you do for all the other vehicles in the fleet.
Well, going under that assumption, then the extra money would be put where? Because that was figured into the budget. So let's say we went with your proposal, and we, instead of paying 16 or 17,000, we use 5,000. Now we have a surplus of X. Where would you want that put?
Right now, we have expenses, for example. Dave's, give you an example. I still think we're dramatically underfunding the potential costs that we don't know yet, it's an unforeseen, for the police transport requirements. Any savings that we have in that area could go into helping to accommodate a potential dramatic increase in costs that we're going to see for that. I don't think 25,000 or 28,000 or 26,000 is enough for that.
Well,
Initial discussions that Dave had, if you remember, and Dave said publicly, was that we could see forecasts of $100,000 worth of costs for that. That was stated publicly numerous times in the newspaper and here at meetings, and we've undercut it. I see that over time, Dave's learned a lot about what could be going on, and we could see a reduction, but to reduce it from 100,000 to 25,000, I still think is way too far of a drop. It's for something that we don't know. It's an unforeseen.
Exactly, just like the revenue for the riverfront. That's an unforeseen.
Let's get back
We
on
have no
topic.
idea what we're even going to happen.
Right now, all the hearings are on Tuesdays. At the maximum I can spend right now, even my guys, and I don't plan on using my guys, is $25,000. That's where I come up with that time. Now, that doesn't mean that Mr. Athelbaum won't change something, but if he doesn't change anything, it goes the same structure, it can't cost me more than $25,000.
Todd, I also talked to the county. They never tracked. I wanted to know what the city of Sunbury used in fiscal year 10, 11. They never tracked it. They did tell me one thing though, Todd, that they felt they were, initially they were paying 300-some-thousand, then they started looking into it, and then that dropped down. And this past year, they're probably looking at 100-some-thousand.
115.
So,
Okay.
And we're better off as compared to Mount Harmon, they got all that transfer time, they're gonna cost those guys more than us. But right now, the most I can get is 12 hours a day, 50 weeks on Tuesdays, and if you figure that out, even at max side, like I said, I do not plan on using 2 police officers. That'll work out myself. Anyway, that comes to 25, so I do feel pretty comfortable with 25.
I know David checked into it, so no question about that.
Tyler, just what happened to SAC for police department insurance to $3,500. We don't have to have that coverage anymore.
So I guess that's a call that I prefer that the chief and Dave make. So Dave, are you saying you don't need that insurance anymore?
AIG dropped their coverage, and they can't, the insurance company is looking for other coverage and they can't find it. And it's the same as workers' comp.
Okay, they dropped it, but they can't find an alternative is different than we don't need it. That means that we may still need it if they can find an alternative.
Well, they haven't been able to find one in about 2 weeks.
So we're basically, just to be clear, you're foregoing a potential cost for insurance simply because we were dropped and our insurance agent is looking for an alternative. You're basically saying at this point in time, don't look anymore. Although it was a drop, not a not need, there's two differences between a not need and a drop.
That's my question. At the very end, what she just said, she said it was comparable to workman's comp. So if we're matching up with workman's comp, there's no need for
We're
it.
double spending money.
Well, for $3,500, it doesn't even make any difference. You can leave it in.
Well, but if they're covered under comp,
That's a Dave and Chief question. So that's what I'm asking. Is that, does he want it left in or not? Because it's ultimately impacting his department, right?
Right. Well, unless we're down to where we need $3,500, we're gonna leave it in for right now.
Okay. So, I mean, really, as you can go down through column A and column B, you can see the difference. So, whatever, and I'm not quite sure exactly what the $11,000 adjustment in revenue was to
Yeah,
in lieu of legal fees.
I was wondering about that too, because it's a weird number.
That was put in draft B. That was kind of
That's
different.
reimbursement for Mike Applebaum. It wasn't in there.
Reimbursement?
They pay their insurance back to us.
No.
Back to
No,
us.
that's shown in health insurance. So I don't know what in lieu of legal fees is.
in order to have them on our health insurance, they have to show up on our UCR report, which means that we have to pay them a salary. So
That's what it's with.
no one ever thought of it in other years, but we thought this year, instead of losing, they pay us their entire
Check.
reimbursement for the premiums. But they never reimbursed us for this, but we have to do it for them to be on our insurance. So the thought is that the first $11,469 is
Billing
free.
would come out for that.
That's right.
And we have to have them on the payroll. You can't have Blue Cross, you can't have insurance. That
And
was
that's
years
the
ago
total amount
established
of their
that.
payroll, that's why it's not a number.
Well, we have salary for solicitor in at 10,164, where I guess,
That's their health insurance.
well, their health insurance is 45,167. We have salary in at 10,164, so what's the,
That's the salary rate. that
That's
we
what we
pay.
That's
put
what
in
we
the
paid.
payroll, right.
And then for that 10,000, 11,000, that they do $11,000 worth of work. So it'd be like if we didn't pay them a salary, they would send us the bill, we'd pay them the $11,000.
okay, so
So
you
it's
also,
not
there's
really
also,
revenue.
but there's a $12,000 retainer in there for the solicitor too,
And that's the work that it does.
right?
Then what's all the other bills?
So wouldn't it just be, so basically you're showing that as an in-kind service
Yes.
on the budget.
So it's not revenue.
Well, it has to show somewhere. And we only have revenue and expense.
Right now, we're only showing it as an expense.
Right,
We have
but
to
ultimately, you
whitewash-
but you could use it as, you could eliminate the retainer. Because essentially you're showing the same amount of money, the retainer is 12,000. So the retainer could basically be reduced by your in-kind
This is
service.
in addition to.
It just
Because
depends
we
on
don't-
how much money we're going to spend. That's the next issue.
In legal fees?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to cut, I don't want to cut the legal fees, because we never have enough in here as it is.
Well, you're
I've gone
not-
back 5 years on that. All we're trying to do is showing the fact that we pay that money out, and we don't show anywhere that we get it back in. And that's all, I think that's all we're trying to do here, is to show that we're going to get $11,469 worth of legal fees.
But it's shown
And
as
in
of
answer
right
to
now.
Joe's question, we have every bill we have, the legal fees is documented in the office. You can see any one of them.
Yeah, but right now,
50-some thousand.
the problem is, as I'm seeing it, unless I'm completely blind to it, is that you're showing the 11,469 as an income. But I'm not seeing anywhere on the expense side the actual reduction.
It's in
That's their
health
salary.
insurance.
We're paying them.
That's the salary, solicitor's salary.
It's showing an expense.
So it's just the salary
Yep.
and your FICA insurance and whatever else may add up.
Exactly.
Okay. And Michael's already agreed to that, I presume.
Well, they used to pay it in lieu of, they paid it through work. Am I correct?
Well, it was, I don't think ever accounted for it, he just did it.
Yeah, we never
Yeah, and you know, that's what
We should
we're
have
trying to
done
make
that
sure.
years ago, but no.
Yeah,
Okay, well, that's,
counted. He was counting every penny he said.
We're going to stay ahead of it this year.
Exactly.
Remember?
Right. I remember that one.
I don't understand why you cut my emergency management budget. I don't know.
Where's that at, Joe?
Under Plan B, I had $2,000 in there for emergency management, and every year it gets taken away.
2011, Joe, during the flood, how much money did you spend in that department?
I didn't have any money.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have any money in that department.
Well, then.
So what was I going to spend?
The emergency management, what monies did they spend?
There was nothing to spend.
No, you're missing the point.
Oh, I see. You just, well, I don't do the budget the way you do. I guess I should change. I just spend and spend and spend and don't worry what's in my budget, right? Just
No,
spend.
Joe, no, Joe. Now, I'll go slow for you. During the flood, what monies were spent by the emergency management people?
I don't know.
Oh,
Nothing showed up in the budget, so was there something spent that I didn't know about, or what? What was
that's
that?
the question. You put money in, there wasn't nothing spent during the flood.
That's why I was cut out of
There's no money, is what I was telling you. There was nothing in
Never
the
mind,
damn
Joe.
budget.
Did you say they cut 2,000? I don't know where you're at. Didn't
I'm
you
not
just-
worried about that. I'm worried about getting
No,
stuff
if
printed.
you look-
How-
Actually, Dave, under the emergency management line item,
Give it backwards.
3, 4.
which is 415,191. Joe had originally in
money for
there
stuff before an emergency
$2,000, which again, wasn't discussed or debated up until the last week.
Just the three of you did it alone.
And what did they spend, and they're saying they spent nothing.
Historically, there's been not a lot of money ever budgeted for that particular line item, but I know for the last couple of years, Joe, in trying to have some wiggle room for that, put money in. The $500 is what had been traditionally basically budgeted in there in the
Well,
past.
last year it was zero.
Yeah, but there wasn't anything ever hit because he didn't spend anything out of it because really there wasn't enough money there essentially to pay for much anyway.
Does Danny Saxon ever request any money through you?
No, he doesn't have a salary
That's
either.
the point, Dave. During the flood, there was no money spent. 2011 didn't even budget any money, which was his
I
department.
asked for
Now,
it,
all
you
of a
wouldn't give
sudden-
it to me. I asked for 20,000 to get generators and other stuff.
He
that
did
now-
ask for it, I know that for certain.
Generators, yeah, okay.
Yeah. I know.
You asked for money last year to actually equip all of the emergency locations.
This year we should have money in there for building repairs, but we don't have any of that either. So we'll give a pay raise.
What building?
The police station, the skating rink.
Well, building repairs,
Yeah, I know, but he doesn't budget anything for it.
So I guess the good news is that if you looked at all the black and red, the black being symbolic of what we actually agreed on, there's more black than there is red. But in the end, it's your call as to what you want to do with the red items.
So basically, what we were saying here, these red items, Todd, is the difference between the black, what you want to call so-called the black budget and the red budget is the truck, am I correct?
and the
And
salary.
And salaries.
Yeah, I mean, no, the only difference
No, he
is,
has 2% in the salary.
No, solicitor's
Or
salary.
solicitor salary.
the differences between the two versions are just highlighted in red for you to review, that's all.
Yeah, but basically, you're saying, you're putting ours out is totally different,
No, it's not, it's actually, I'm pointing out the differences so everybody can see them.
I think they're two good budgets, to be honest with you. And I'm with either, to be honest.
We still have that 2,000 in there for the ASA contribution and the Quadra League. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some places that could be cut.
It's kids, man.
It's not kids.
He doesn't care about that.
Well, why do they need the money? They just put up a big addition. They spent 280 grand on addition. They need our money though.
But I guess
That's something different, they're both two different things.
Don't you think it was nice of them to come in and spend 280 grand in the city of
Yeah.
Sunbury?
Great.
Who the hell put up 280? What are you talking about?
He's referring to your building, Dave.
What does that have to do with the city of Sunbury? There's not a damn dime of city of Sunbury money in the Hall of Fame bill. It's nothing to do with
I
that.
didn't say there was anything in the building. I said, why do you need that
You
$2,000?
just said you spent $280,000 like incinerating these people had just city money going to it.
No, I didn't.
You didn't say that. Well, then
I
we'll look at the
said
tape
you. I
again.
said you just spent 280,000 building an addition. Why do you need 2,000 from the city?
Well, the 2,000 doesn't go to him,
There's
it goes to the kids.
The
There's
2,000
400 kids out there playing baseball and softball and getting them off the street.
Great.
It is great.
David doesn't understand, let's discuss it.
What do you mean, 17?
Kevin, I did have one question, just when it comes to the line items as far as wages. I'm sorry, you were talking to Terry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
That's right, go ahead, Todd.
Quick question. You had a wage increase within your department that I presume actually was either the addition of personnel, because the wage increase jumped beyond 2%. So are you looking to actually add additional personnel?
I should have, no, absolutely not, Todd, no.
That must have been.
Well, that would clear up quite a bit,
Yeah.
because you took a look at
You see that there.
wages for the street crew went from 172, 486, which was a 2% increase, to, in your budget, 193, 752. So the $21,000 increase between the two versions, although both accommodated a 2% increase. So I was presuming that yours might have accommodated additional people.
I don't know, Todd, there's no, manpower we have under now is the manpower we have. The last hire we had was back in September, we had replaced the street sweeper person.
Okay.
No, there should be nothing in there for another person, none whatsoever, not having anything in there.
I think we
Why
took the
would you keep that up so high?
169 instead
Historically,
of
it hasn't been that.
117.
No, that's an error, that you found that's an error. Todd.
Well, that's actually to the good, because that actually decreases our cost by $21,000.
What should be the number then?
Actually, the number to the left is accommodating a 2%, or the 25-cent
172,
increase.
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's accommodating the hourly rate increase and the wages.
So, like, if he had 169,000 in there last year and only spent 117, then we're going to raise it up to 172?
What happens there, and we have to sit down and work that out. Jim and I, when we did Parks and Rec work, we charge the Park and Rec department, like cutting the grass or anything, we do in ball fields or ice skating rinks when my guys go up there. So revenue-wise, I mean, not revenue, expenditure,
It's a charge between departments.
we charge between departments. So if you look at Jim's is probably over and I'm under, and it balances out because of that fact right there.
Plus,
Because,
we
you
were
know,
without a full-time streets.
The street should, yeah, we went from June to August without an employee to, June to October almost, July to October. Yeah, that's wrong. So that changes the bottom line on B, doesn't it? So on B with everything, we're plus,
Well, you gotta add back in Dave's 3,500, so you're basically plus 18,000.
and that's the truck, I guess, huh? Why don't we,
Well, that's with the truck in there. You didn't take the truck out yet, did you, Todd?
No, the truck's not been taken out at the moment. I've not changed anything. Ultimately, we're still just talking through it,
So
so.
now there's 18 on the table.
Todd, why don't we just take,
Well, Todd, let's go back.
Well, can I ask you, you deducted 5,000 for wages for your part-time compliance officer for code office, which I know we talked about getting them a car, but we also have always talked about making sure they have enough manpower to do what we're asking them to do with the new ordinance and all of that. Can we put $5,000 back in there for that?
yeah, I see, I have no problem with that, and I tell you what, that truck, I think, is very essential to the code office. I mean, if we get that truck, and we take it and we go out to, they go out
Just
to
leave
the
the money
site,
in there, I'll pick out a truck and I'll get it.
and, let's say time and effort of my guys, let them call and say, hey, we have a mess up here, can you set up, you know how much time and effort's gonna save, manpower, gas, you know, just for their guys, just pick it up, throw it back in the truck, get rid of it, it's done.
Well, I guess debating the need for a vehicle is one thing, because I think you're right, they drive around in a piece of junk, essentially. How you pay for it is the question. Do you want to capitalize it, or you want to lease it like we do everything else?
Well, at least you're gonna pay the same amount of money, but we're stretching it out over, so my
It's
theory
over
was this
2,
was.
3 budgets instead of just one.
Here we have the money, pay, give it on, get out of the way.
There's something, Todd, also. There is a cost when we lease them, there is a fee there. So it isn't free, as you know.
Oh, no,
Okay, so
no.
even
But you
if
figure $500, let's say $600 even a month for the lease, right? Is what you leased your truck, I believe, right around 5 something.
Yeah, but they're $47,000 truck too,
Right. So if you actually got a lease from Ford dealership or whomever locally that we could lease from, you're probably in that $300 to $400 a month range. So we're looking at $3,800 to $4,800 in the budget versus $17,000.
And I can appreciate that, but I'd rather take and make sure, you know, just don't stick that money somewhere just to purchase something that isn't needed. Because what I was going to recommend, of course, leaving that in for the truck, you said putting in an extra 5 back into the
Part-timer?
part-time for the code hours. The other surplus, I know Dave has on his agenda for some cruisers. You can also pay down some cruisers. That just relieves payments for the cruisers. I don't already have listed for you.
And I don't even have a problem putting 2,000 back in for Joe if he wants to put emergency management fund, because you never know when you might need something. So I have no problem putting that another 2,000 back in there either.
I just don't see how we have a surplus. We have a 15,000 of revenue from the riverfront that we don't even know how we're going to get it. And we're talking, we have like a surplus.
Unfortunately, on the revenue side, with all the things we have, it's a struggle to get any of them anymore. You know, I mean, it's from the taxes on down the line, you fight every day to try and get it. But we have to have a commitment on the table that we're going to do something and make it work.
I think we did a great job last year. I think you implemented some good stuff last year, Todd, and I think it's shown at the year end here.
Can I ask you then,
We're set, you know what I'm saying?
Well, thank you. Can I ask you, are we in consensus then to get the 2,000 back in Joe's budget for emergency services?
I have no problem with that.
And we didn't, but we haven't spent it in the last 2 years. Did I hear that right or not?
No, but he was, if I'm not mistaken, you were using that for supplies because you have an obligation to at least resupply those facilities that we have designated as emergency locations.
I'd like to
correct?
at least have some,
Wouldn't
maybe
that be a
pamphlets
little-
printed to have an evacuation route on them for people in
Is
town.
that not the line item that Danny Saxon would get his stuff out of?
Yes, that's what it is.
Okay.
And,
But
you know,
you didn't,
whatever
he didn't ask you for anything this year?
He's not asked for anything.
Okay.
We didn't have anything really that happened this year.
No, you missed it, was last year.
When you're at the 911 center, Joe, did they ask?
So that just went from 5 to 2, so I can make that adjustment.
He wasn't there.
So are you still, I guess, wanting to accommodate that new vehicle as a capital expense, or?
I rather see the capital, I just take care of.
Well, the lease, any lease, I don't care if it's, and when you get into police cars, I know when you get, because now you're talking $30,000 car, it costs you more money to lease them.
Yeah, basically, I'll tell you what,
If you can
basically,
pay-
this-
if we have the money, I'd rather not lease them, but if you need to, I agree.
This is a
That's why we
white-
do lease other things.
What they have coming in, Joe, is a white F-150, 2x4, and it's this basic truck with a tow hitch in the back. So
Does it have to be a Ford, or can it be a GMC?
Go
or
Co-Star, then Ford's get the best deal, especially when they keep it in Sunbury. They get the best deal. It's a $25,000 vehicle, we get for $16,900. That's the savings we get off the Co-Star. And, you know, when you buy a vehicle or buy any kind of equipment, you want to go through them, because that's state funded, and funded, so you can make them better that way. But it just has air conditioning, just a radio, basic buck bench seat. It's a work vehicle.
Excuse me a second, Rick.
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question on the truck. I mean, it's Ford or Chevy, how do you want to do it? Do you want to own the truck or do you want to rent it?
Well, what we do with the
Your
lease,
Well, your $3,000 lease in 3 years, you're going to give the truck back or whatever,
No.
and you're not going to own it.
no, we buy it for $1 at the end of the lease.
Oh, you get it for $1 at the end of the lease then?
Basically, they're financing the truck for you. That's what they do. It's a through Ford Motor Company, they finance it, but it does cost you money. It's just not free.
The difference is, do you want to spend $6,000 for 3 or 4 years, or do you want to just pay the thing off?
Okay,
It does
that's why
definitely.
I didn't know, because I know the conventional lease, when I was leasing vehicles, I had to buy the lease at market value if I wanted to keep that vehicle.
And that's how, see, we buy our street sweeper the same way. Street sweeper, we run anywhere between $160 to $180, and we lease it for 5 years, and then we buy it for $1. So that's why these Co-Star leases work.
But one of the things with a situation where we know we're always wearing out vehicles, we're wearing out equipment, leases are designed to allow companies that go through equipment quickly to make sure you always have a new one, or at least one that's not as dilapidated as some of the ones we've had.
Maybe
So
we should check and see what the mileage is on those vehicles the past couple of years and see
what
how
kind of lease.
much miles they're putting on it.
But that's the advantage of at least
There's no-
having a
there's no
lease is that
limit
every
mileage
3
on
years,
leases,
we
Joe.
know we end up with a
So
new
you can
piece
put
of
a limit
equipment.
mileage on the leases that we have, there's no limit we put on per year.
It's only financing, Rick. It's
It
not
just
like,
makes it easier.
if you're
to
thinking
budget
about leasing
for.
a car where you have to pay so much mileage over, that's not, it's just
Well,
a
plus at
finance.
the end of the lease, if I wanted to buy that car, I had to pay fair market value for the car.
Right.
And,
See,
we pay $1, and if it's,
we
if it's
know
a
up
landlord,
front
it's giving
we're
us
buying
trouble.
it.
we
I
just
just don't
go back
think we
to
have the
what I'm
revenue
saying.
for it.
There's no fair market value on these leases like this. Lease could be the wrong word we use for it, to be honest with you, but that's what they call it, you know?
Todd, where are we at?
We still, if you put that 5 and 2 back in there, we're still 11,000 with the red thing over, right? Am I correct? And you feel uncomfortable by?
Oh, no, you had 21 originally saved, right? So you added 3,500 back in for Dave's insurance. You added 5 back in for the part-time compliance officer. You added 1,500 back in for emergency management. So we still have some room to add back in.
Well, you added $2,000 for, in lieu of taxes also. Is that from the housing authority?
Yeah,
Yes, every year we get a tax rebate in lieu of taxes. It's divided between the school, the county, and the city.
And they're going to give us
First-
2,000 more next year?
Well, we got 12, almost 13,000 this year.
Okay,
so-
all right, that's what I'm at, because it was only 10 last year.
Well, I think that they did a lot of remodeling in the past, like 5 or 6 years, and we got less money because it's based on their expenses minus their income, and it's not really a profit, but that's how the tax
So
rebates.
the balance on the table right now, Ty? You want to put in capital improvements in what department?
Or do you want to stick it back into the,
Well, ultimately, if it's a vehicle for code office, it's gonna have to be, has to stay within the code office.
I don't.
and we're still,
The
still
surplus.
about 11,000 yet, right? But that's including the
You
truck.
still have some. No, that's not, I didn't add the, well, yes, it is still including the truck, correct?
Yeah, the truck's
17 was never taken out.
Right, okay. So now we're down, let's see, 11,000. Just thinking capital improvements for a vehicle for next year, 2013 or 14, 13.
Or do you really see something that concerns you, you know?
Well, no, your 17,000 for your truck is still in there. So that's a
No, but I meant,
purchase.
even on the mayor's side, on the purchasing cruisers, we put it in 13's budget for capital improvement vehicle-wise.
Paying down any debt would normally be taken care of via the debt reduction tax, so that's an option for that money.
Okay.
But we've held that money over the last year, essentially waiting to see how things would close out with the riverfront. We've all known that. So into next year, do we have debt right now that money could be used for? It would be debt on things like that, outstanding leases. We don't have, until we close out the riverfront, we don't have a firm number on anything else. So if that's what you'd opt to do, you have that option. That's what that money's for. And you don't actually have to designate that per se right now. You can decide on how to use that debt reduction.
It has to be a balanced budget,
Correct. You're shown as an income of 105 and it's shown as an outcome of an expense of 105. But what you end up allocating that 105 for during the course of any given year is typically discussed and taken care of when you need to.
But the 11,000 that's laying here right now, that has to be allocated somewhere, though. It just can't be.
You saying put it with 105? With the
No, I'm
debt?
saying as of right now, I mean, really, it would be nice to go back if you have that in there and maybe take a look at some of the expense items that you have that you could put some money back into, or reduce some of the forecasted revenues that might be in an area that we think is a little bit high.
One other thing I did
I
notice.
mean, honestly, I've got to ask, I mean, when it comes to the accounting and finance department, I know Beth obviously was involved in your discussions, but up until that point, we were under the assumption that there was a request for potentially a new supervisor position, which I know is on the agenda for today for accounting and finance. We had to potentially replace an employee who had opted soon to be leaving, which would be Barb. Now, if she is deciding to stay, the salary or the part-time wage amount that's there is actually less than what she gets paid now. So I'm presuming that...
What we did there, Todd, was we took that to mid-March. 6 weeks, we figured we'd get rid of 2 closing months, the train Kathy. When we sit down and talked about it, and at the
So that will be-
same time, that's when Barb was going to leave. And that was at $18 an hour, $10 a week for Brenda.
So just to be clear then, for the department, we'll have 2 staff, no part-timers, and Beth. Now, that means when Beth or anyone wants to go on vacation, you're going to have to pull from other resources, Cheryl, Terry, etc., to be able to accommodate that. And ultimately, if Brenda is needed at all after that, she, of course, will not be available. So you're betting that transition will happen cleanly over a 2-month span of time.
but we've only ever had 2 employees in my office until you started, and you put that third one in there.
Yeah, but you actually, going into this budget, Beth, if I'm not mistaken, you actually had numerous conversations with me saying you not only wanted Brenda's replacement
Yes.
back, but you wanted another person full-time, which is
Yes,
why that
I wanted-
person was in
I wanted
there.
Brenda in my office, and if there was money for a part-time person, fine.
So now we'll have
So
Penny.
we'll have Penny and a new person
And that's
in
it.
my office doing city, county, and school work.
Correct. One reporting into you, one reporting into me.
Well, I don't agree with reporting into you if they're working in my office and they're doing school and county stuff, and I'm the city treasurer, and I'm
The city
responsible for
treasurer's job
money.
is tax collection.
No, it is
Yes,
not.
it is. You want to read the ordinance? That's what it is.
That's what the tax collector part of the city treasurer does. The city treasurer is responsible for collecting all of the money that comes into the city.
Collecting it, correct.
Right.
Not accounting and dealing with all the accounts and the budget. Those things are not
Well, it
directly
always
addressed.
was until you started here.
I went back to the way it was according to the books, the law.
Well, in the-
Not just
in
the way
city
because it
treasurer-
was the way it was.
in the PCE handbook for the city treasurer, did you read
You
that?
know what then? I'm perfectly fine with you having just 2 people in your office.
So am I.
Good. Then the because that's what you always wanted.
Okay, can I throw something here, Todd? Can we just take, if we're looking at $11,000, how does this sound to you? If we spend that transfer of prisoners, because that's going to be used for nothing else but that. If we don't need it, and somewhere throughout the year, you need another $10,000 or something, I mean, we're not going to use it for anything else but that. It's not going to get in the police department. So at least it's in there in case Applebaum does change something around, Ben change something around. Well, I'm just saying it's a place to put it, to move this discussion along, and you
Yeah,
can.
because that's the biggest fear that I have
You
is
have
that
concerns
we
about it.
have.
I don't think I'm gonna need it, but maybe I'm proven wrong and it's in there. But if it doesn't get spent and it pops up somewhere else, we need it, we just use it.
Well, Todd, you do the numbers, so you think that's where we should shift it? Dave wants it. I have no problems with it. Kevin?
I don't know. But mid-year, if we know we have extra, we need money, we know where we can get it from.
Right. It won't be spent for anything but that. My goal is to make sure we don't spend that 25. That's what I'm trying to work with the constables and that, so.
Why did you guys raise the health officer's salary up to
Just
$4,000?
because it's always been, before Lee retired, it's been 3,500. Just thought it would be nice to give her a little bit of a raise. I mean, it's been,
She spoke to us about the possibility, she's going to bring it up later, of having a return visit and charging for the return visit. And then she gets paid for the return visit. Because say she goes to the Edison and she finds something wrong at the Edison.
But she won't.
Well, obviously not, but, so they find something wrong there, and then she has to go back and recheck it. Okay, the Chinese restaurant, does that make you happy? So that's why the extra money's in there, because if she goes back, we should pay her for that.
Well, she gets one pay though. She gets one salary
She
for everything she does,
gets $100
right?
for one inspection.
Okay, so all right, then depending on how many inspections she does is what her pay is.
Right. No.
the $100 per inspection is revenue for the city. She
To try
just
and
gets paid a
reimburse her.
salary.
Yeah, she doesn't get $100.
But it would have been nice to give her a little bit extra to
But here
do
again,
what she does.
I have to put this in there, Terry, I'm still upset at the fact that she keeps drawing on us. It just
Well,
upsets
she
me.
should be done soon because she should be done with everything. That's nothing we can control.
No, well, then
It's the
she
state
keeps
and that's how
She
they
keeps
do
what?
it. That's how
She
they
keeps
do
what
it.
on us? What is she doing on us?
Unemployment.
Drawing unemployment on
Well,
us?
she was laid off from all of her jobs, her other jobs.
She was laid off from her other job and that should be over.
Well, I don't think that's her choice where she draws from.
It is not. It's a state thing.
I think they read the rules.
I mean, we don't like it, but there's nothing we can do about it.
No, but
Just like anybody
ultimately,
else.
to Jim's
I think
point, though,
she's
you
doing a
can
good
deny
job,
that
though. I
you're
don't wanna
not giving a
replace her.
person unemployment.
Yeah,
You
but-
can basically, when you're requested that of the state, whether or not you agree that they should draw from you, you can deny.
We
And
do
the
all
reason we
time.
didn't is because we didn't know, because no one was tracking it. That's why. But we are tracking it, we're tracking it in the treasurer's office now, so we will know in the future, and then we can go to a hearing.
Which I've done many times for the city.
We want.
Yeah, we lost them too, but eventually you'll always lose.
No, I never lost yet. I'm undefeated. 3-0.
We took that one guy 4 different times, so we ended up in Harrisburg, and then we lost the 4th time, nothing changed.
I should have won.
All right, Todd, can we go, or somebody, draft date, can we get down B and say this is what we're gonna do with the changes, so we can actually vote on something here?
Yeah, I'm actually looking through now making the adjustments that we made actually till it's all said and done, because it does impact some of the other line items. There's about a $5,900 positive, which would close your gap, so it wasn't actually 11 until we added
Okay.
this other things in, it's just shy of 6. So if we added the 5981 as an expense to police transport, it would essentially balance it. And if I just added 5,900 to it, we'd have $81, which is again still essentially balanced. I think in the past we've done it as long as it was under $100.
Yeah.
Let me go up here for that.
building. We want a coffee pot here from now on.
When you're retiring? Besides David, when you retire?
Nobody drinks it here. No, this is for you to look out for the next meeting. I haven't talked to Cindy Uncroft, but everybody else is good with it. I haven't talked to her, but I'm sure she'll.
Okay. Makes it $19. Just go through and confirm the changes here before we read them out.
Well, the ones you haven't read, you just tell us if you're gonna change them. You just go right down a column and then.
Yep, that's what I'm just looking at, to make sure.
Now, you're referring back to draft B, am I correct?
Correct, we're looking at draft B. Just looking at the changes.
So we'll all use that same paper.
Yep.
Suppose this one was dead.
Nonsense earlier, it's coming fast.
I heard the hearing has to get 10 to 14, when it was to get that much out of right? So it must be
Well, the 8 inches, but
2 to 4. Is that
10 bucks,
something?
20 Swiss.
Is that
farther
for-
east.
Well, it starts to see it now, I just heard a little bit ago, before I came in the building. It's moving real fast, it's looking through. We get less snow, but it's gonna come earlier, like this afternoon. Rick, what'd you hear?
I heard this could be, it was 2 to 5, and then it was moving faster, and there's supposed to be another one on Saturday. The weather's not, could change the rain quicker because the weather's supposed to be warmer than what was originally planned. It's supposed to be mid-30s, upper 30s tomorrow.
That's what happened yesterday. I think Austin's in the 40s.
Yeah, it did.
Highland was terrible. Yeah, I know. I told you that.
Since it's, the winter storm is in effect for 10 a.m. today through 7
I think
p.m.
about from 7 to 9.
Warning in effect from 10 a.m. today till 7 a.m.
So what we did, he'd ask me. They asked me. They were concerned. Let's go to 20.
Okay, looking at,
All right, page 1.
looking at a hybrid between the two in a couple areas. I'll go down through and just read the respective changes. You're looking at draft B, no current changes in terms of revenue. So your revenue forecast that you're putting in is $4,330,475. On the expense side, under transport of prisoners, going from 28,000 to 31,000. Under Act 30, Police Department insurance, retaining 3,500. The next change actually would be impacting the code office. Retention of the $5,000 for the part-time compliance officer at $25,000 versus $20,000. Again, the next change impacting the code office would be emergency management line item going from $500 to $2,000, retaining that number. An adjustment to the negative for the wages on the street crew from $193,752 to $172,486. And that concludes all changes. And on the expense side, at least as it would show in this draft, that would be $4,330,494. Again, that's $4,330,494 with a $19 difference between the two.
Is that a formal motion?
Guess yes, it shall be.
Second.
Which version?
Well, we just went through.
Draft B.
Those modifications.
Snyder,
No.
Bartella,
No.
Troop,
Yes.
Ister,
Yes.
Persing,
Yes. Tax levy ordinance, Todd?
Yep. Actually, I guess the good news on the tax side, this I believe is drafted, let me read it and see if it actually includes an increase. Oh, yeah, like I said, I just wanted to make sure
Yeah,
this
no,
draft
that's-
was showing.
that's the original.
Okay. All right, so ultimately, we'd just be looking to pass the ordinance levying a tax at the current rate of tax, with no increase forecasted for 2013. Make that a motion.
Second.
Bartella,
No.
Troop,
Yes.
Ister,
Yes.
Persing,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Todd, new hire?
We actually had requested that, which I guess, Terry, before we made it public, was any communication related? Okay, so she
Yes.
did actually have a
Yes.
chance to do that, because I didn't want
and she came in Friday with a start date.
to, okay, so I didn't want to put that situation,
No.
create a situation for her.
No.
Okay. Requesting actually that we hire under the accounting supervisor position with the job description that had been communicated to everyone, Kathy Geiger, I guess effective January 21st of 2013, in the amount of $38,000, with the city share reflected in the budget at $22,000.
I just add that to the public to understand that that is not a new hire, it's a replacement. The city's not hiring anybody new. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Second.
Troop,
Yes.
Ister,
Yes.
Persing,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Bartella,
Yes.
All right, do we have a copy of this resolution?
yes.
Quick resolution, whereas the City of Sunbury Redevelopment Authority removed a blighted property and constructed a new house on a lot at 202 Washington Avenue, whereas the property was offered for sale at an advertised public auction, whereas the public auction was held with an excess of 20 people in attendance, whereas bids were not received at the public auction, whereas a bid has now been made, which is now before City Council for final approval. Whereas City Council believes it is in the best interest of the city to complete the sale through this transaction with the buyer who was present at the public auction. Therefore, it is resolved as follows. The offer made by Ms. Holly Zimmerman for the purchase of the property at a price of $157,500 is hereby accepted. Buyer and seller shall each pay an equal amount of transfer tax. The transaction is conditioned upon confirmation by the code office that a garage may be constructed at the property. City Council recognizes that this sale represents an excellent step in the redevelopment of the city of Sunbury. The mayor, chairman of the redevelopment authority, and the city clerk shall have full authority to execute all documents related to this transaction. We're just doing it this way because of the auction. We didn't have a sale at the auction. So I make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Ister,
Yes.
Persing,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Bartella,
No.
Troop,
Yes.
I do want to thank the Legacy Foundation because that money that was received goes right back into the redevelopment authority and be able to use for future development of brand new housing. And the good thing about that money, that $157,000, there's no attachments, federal attachments, prevailing wages and all that stuff. So they can do a lot more with that money than had that been $157,000 for the grant money. So it's a huge step in the city of Sunbury in the right direction.
And Dave, I think what I mentioned, all costs incurred there was paid by the Davidson. That's my opinion.
Yes, yep, the new side, everything is put in there. It's not,
Demolition.
none of your tax dollars are in that project at all.
And the neighborhood is happy up there.
So we hope to, announce another property in the next month or two, or we're gonna do the next one.
That shouldn't mean an increase to the city taxes.
That's right, 'cause we're getting any dollars off of it as it says, which is the ultimate goal. If we end up, and if we can do that with 50 homes in the city, somewhere that'd be a considerable amount of taxation coming in. Even if you look at it over a 10-year span, how much money that's gonna bring into the city. That's why we need to do this one property at a time and get a little more done next year, so. We'll be up and running on that, and we'll hear more about that in at least February for sure. Approval to pay invoices, vouchers, Todd?
I'll make everyone aware of something as it relates to approval of pay invoices. I'm only going to make the motion to do so under this particular contingency. There's legal fees actually noted in here, which was sent out the voucher report for costs incurred by the redevelopment authority, which are legitimate and based on the amount of work done, certainly fair. However, I had spoken to the solicitor and Dave about the fact that we should, as a city, since the redevelopment authority is officially a separate entity, actually loan the money to the redevelopment authority versus just pay the bill, with the expectation that the redevelopment authority then would have an accounts payable due to us, and we would show a receivable on our books for those outstanding fees.
Yeah, that way it doesn't cost the city anything.
The solicitor had agreed and actually confirmed that was a good approach to do it. So I would look to make the motion to make these bills whole and paid with the contingency that we put in place, that agreement between us and the authority to essentially loan them that money.
All right, let me speak against that. The project, and everybody is aware of what we do and how we get it accomplished. There's no question that the legal bills were more than anybody anticipated. Again, everything is, Todd said, everything is documented. Anybody can get out and see what they were. So there's no favoritism, there's nothing. What was done was actually done. The goal was that the redevelopment authority never had any money. We sat in this budget last year and talked about, can we give them 5,000, can we give them 10,000? We all knew that was never going to be realistic, that we were going to be in the 50s or 60s, whatever it may be. I went back through 2009, and there was years that we budgeted 40,000, spent 150. I mean, legal fees have always been an issue where we have to get our hands on it, and the redevelopment authority now, since they have their own money, to me it would be counterproductive to go in and take a third of it because of what happened. It's not like we didn't know that this project was going to cost us money. The goal is that everything is documented. There will be nothing done with this year. There will be nothing done with the redevelopment authority until it's approved before at the redevelopment authority meeting, so the legal people know exactly what we expect of them. So there'll be no more, here's 42 properties on the list, go get them. There'll be 3 or 4 picked out, what we're going to do with them, what the process is going to be. So I'm a big supporter. I know everybody in this council is not a supporter. I'm a huge supporter of this redevelopment action and the way the direction it's going. And if this would happen again in the future, I would agree with Todd. But for right now, I think the city pays the bills that were legitimately raised, pay the bills now, and see that it doesn't happen again. But again, there's no question that this project is going to cost money. I think everybody should have anticipated what it was going to be. So I'm not supportive of me. I'm just supporting paying the bills, put it behind us, and make sure nothing like it doesn't get paid.
But if we did it as a city, then our solicitor did it for us. Our solicitor gets paid his salary. He doesn't submit a bill for extra work that he does. I mean, that...
I guess in this particular case, I'm not arguing the legitimacy of the work. What I'm saying is, if we pay the bill, then the taxpayers have paid something towards that project. It did not happen tax-free.
$65,000.
They've paid towards the redevelopment projects, not to Washington, but they've paid for their properties. Right, I agree with that.
That bill includes a lot of fees specific to the development efforts around that property. So all I'm saying is that the redevelopment authority has funds available now, and we're not saying that we actually have to require them, and I'm not even making that as a motion, that we have to require them to pay that money back in 1 year or in one lump sum. To me, that would be irresponsible because, and that's what we talked through with the solicitor and you earlier, is that we need to ensure their viability. But for the sake of the city's budget, which was an unbudgeted expense of an authority under us, not actually us, to account for that unbudgeted expense, showing it on our books as a loan with a receivable due that ultimately could be paid off over a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever we so choose. And if another council down the road opts to forego it and waives that receivable because they want to just wipe it off the books, that's fine. But in a transaction like this, we should properly document the expense and show it as a loan, because any overage we may have that we're going to carry over, whatever it may be, shouldn't just be given away. That's all I'm asking.
No, I agree.
And I don't care if we pay, I don't care if we tell them it's 3 years, 5 years that they pay it off, that's fine. But we have to ask them to pay it back.
Here's some of the problem though, Todd. You go through all the invoices, and I haven't done it, okay? And break it all out, which property was charged X amount of dollars, okay? There's some of those properties, I know we as council sit here, and we have directed the Alpha Palm Agency that they can go and acquire those properties so they want to blighted property lists before the housing authority, redevelopment authority got involved. They basically really got involved at the very, towards the end because of the fact of the 202. But some of that cost was incurred was by us, not them, okay? I think it would take a lot to go through and separate everything.
Those bills, just so you know, the money that I'm asking is only specific to charges that were incurred on behalf of the redevelopment authority, not any other legal bills. The amount that I'm looking to basically we'll pay it, but I just want to have an agreement when we pay it that any documented invoices that were attributed to redevelopment authority projects be put on our books as a receivable due from the authority. That's all.
We help these, that's an authority. I agree with you totally, Todd, at this stage. We should reimburse us for this because they are an authority. It'd be like asking the municipal authority, let us pay your legal fees. It's the same situation. You don't do it for them, we shouldn't be doing it for that. Now, this project got them off and running. I think this gives them a good start with the project that they just did here. So now, I'm all for saying you pay it back if it goes from the future here on out. They pay it back. Because they are an authority. They're individual. And it's not right that our taxpayer is picking up that because we don't do it with the municipal authority.
I agree with it in the future, but right now, because everything they got brought into, we started here as council before they got active.
But they have right now, if I'm not mistaken, at least as of today, which is great, they have essentially $157,000 in their bank account, which they didn't have before. And we're looking to put in our budget, which was approved, right? You approved giving them another $10,000. So now they have $167,000 in their budget. So they have $167,000 in their budget. I don't think it's wrong of us to ask that over the next 3 to 5 years, they pay back $40,000 worth of legal bills that they incurred during the course of the last year's activities, which helped them raise that $167,000.
But I'm not sold with $40,000 is all theirs. That's my question.
I don't
That
have
$40,000, it's invoiced.
Anything was worth it.
It's invoiced from Applebaum to us, documenting that that amount of money is attributed to redevelopment authority only legal costs.
No, but let's talk about North River Avenue. We sat here in this council and said we condemned North River Avenue and the city was going to tear it down. Is that
turned it
Applebaum's
over.
bill or is that our bill?
We
He's
turned
the
it over.
solicitor. It's
We
on.
turned it over to the redevelopment authority. I mean, when we make those decisions, right, and we can go back through the notes, all we basically do is make an action to say we condemn it, but essentially we turn it over then to the redevelopment authority for them to manage, and then they manage our legal, expertise and accumulate charges, and that's what
I
happened.
think we acquired it before they really get active. That's where's the break-off point? That's when you start studying the invoices when things.
But that $40,000 isn't legal fees for the past 12 months. That $40,000 worth of bills that we just got for legal fees are over the last few months. So
can't imagine
we already
anything
paid the prior legal bills. This is not all of 2012's legal bills to the redevelopment authority. That's legal bills for the redevelopment authority for
I
the
like
last
to
few
take to
months.
see where they've been, documented to, credited to, the expenses. I don't know. I didn't look at them.
Well, I
I'd like
guess
to see it detailed.
I'm looking to make the motion that we pay it.
These bills should be paid.
I'm looking to make the motion that we pay it with the assumption that we have a receivable due and we loan it to the redevelopment authority.
Of a maximum of what? Give me a figure.
Maximum of $45,000.
And that all has to be reviewed. Now,
Correct.
if there's someone that we said, we told them to do it, then you're not looking for that.
Now, all I want to make sure is that anything on there that Michael says is definitely attributed to redevelopment authority, that we can go back through and get that money back at some point in time.
My last statement. Everybody supported this project from the beginning, now it's at the end and they got some.
No, we're not.
I just don't
Nobody's
agree.
not supporting it. I'm in favor of it. But the difference is, to me, it's a matter of we have, just to Kevin's point, we haven't supported the municipal authority by paying their legal bills, and we can't pay the legal bills of other authorities or agencies that we've created. We ultimately give them the authority by creating their board of directors, by creating their opportunities like what was done with Wittgenstein. to generate money and pay their own bills. And in this case, they didn't. They incurred an awful lot of bills without having an opportunity to pay it back. Now, they have $167,000 at the end of this year in the bank as a result of the sale today, so the work paid off. That's great. They hopefully now are viable. They have money. They can do their own thing. But we still should not be paying their bills.
But we're gonna be sitting here 6 months from now talking about block grant money and giving them more money or not giving them more money, so we just take away and turn around and giving them more money anyway. I mean, everybody knew this was gonna cost us money.
In the start, in the beginning.
All right.
I can understand the start, now.
But either way, proper way to account for it is to ultimately have a
What would you be doing if they didn't get this $150,000? What would you be doing right now?
I'd still be putting on our books as a receivable. But ultimately, the term of their payback.
Let's vote on if it's gonna loan or not. That's pretty much what you're saying. We're gonna loan them $40,000 to pay this bill, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, the bill's paid already, right?
No, the bills aren't paid yet.
Oh, are they paid?
They're right here.
We're gonna pay the bill. I don't think it's an argument about paying the bill. It's just, your
Right.
question
My
is.
motion was to proceed with paying our bills as a whole, under one condition, that we request and require of the redevelopment authority that we enter into a loan with them for up to $45,000 to accommodate their legal costs.
Todd, can you make that separate?
So we're gonna pay the other
Motions.
20,000.
Can you make a motion to pay the bills and then make another motion to say this we want to go after?
Well, I can't because I can't separate the two. They're included, they're all.
But now,
on check.
you're making an assumption, they're gonna say, we accept the liability.
They have to, otherwise we dissolve the authority. That's what
Well,
you're right as a.
I understand that. But I think.
I don't think, let's put it this way, I know talking with Michael, that he was at least, from a solicitor's standpoint, in agreement that that's the proper way to deal with it. So, now again, true, he's the beneficiary, but bottom line is, still, it is the proper way to account for it. And I can't imagine that he's gonna go and advise them any different. And I can't honestly imagine that the people that we have on the authority aren't gonna agree that that's the right way to deal with it.
Well, they're not gonna fight it. They're gonna do whatever we tell them they have to do.
And it's not.
I just don't agree with it, that's all, but it's not a big deal. We'll vote on it this way, that the
That's the
45,000, up to 45,000,
Yep.
that we'll have to review them all, up to 45,000 would be paid back by the redevelopment authority.
And over a term yet to be determined, to make sense for their viability, because in the end, that is the most important thing. We want to make sure they have the opportunity to pay it back, but not in such a way that it undermines their ability to be successful. Now, that can be worked out. It could be over 3, 5, 10 years, but I don't think it should go beyond 10. But in the end, if the next group here decides that they want to waive it, go ahead.
And maybe they'll make an offer how they want to pay it back too. Like they say, well, 10 an hour, 20, whatever. Okay. All right, so we have a motion to pay the bills and up to $45,000 be paid back by the redevelopment authority. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Persing,
No.
Snyder,
Yes.
Bartello,
No.
Troop,
Yes.
Ister,
No.
does not pass.
So our bills do not get paid.
No, I would make a motion to pay them without the coming back.
Okay, go ahead. Are you going to make that motion?
I'll make the motion that we pay the outstanding bills through the end of the year. That's presented to us.
Second.
Snyder,
No.
Bartello,
No.
Troop,
Yes.
Ister,
Yes.
Persing,
Yes, gotta pay the bills.
Gotta pay the bills.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay that one particular bill, which is what we had asked, but that's all right.
On the back of your thing, guys, just look for, we'll do it in January, the boards, is there anybody we need to recruit for, Terry?
recreation, I think, has been.
Oh, okay.
You have one vacant person, there's an open spot on
Technically,
recreation,
I guess technically I don't have to
That's it.
sign that one check.
What did you
so,
say?
or
We'll
Jim,
have
if you have
to,
some, nominate somebody, or.
You go ahead
Well,
and sign them, and then I'll sign them later.
We'll take it, start looking around. We haven't had a meeting because of the
I
holidays.
don't have a pen. And I can sign them tomorrow after. I mean, I can sign them later.
Oh, Rick. Oh, hold on, David.
Well, we're not voting on this today.
Yeah, we don't know, no, that's what I'm saying, you have time to do
Okay.
it. I just want to bring it to everybody's
I
attention,
wasn't-
council's attention, we show one vacancy. That doesn't mean you guys can't nominate somebody else. These people are all serving on it now, and they're willing to come back.
Vacant spot, Rick Wagner, hop on board. So.
That's excellent. Anything else before you close out, David? Is there anything else there? on the sheet?
No, that's it. Well, how about a little bit, anything on the New Year's? Can you update us, anything? I got people calling. I mean, is there,
New Year's Eve, of course, downtown Market Street, the kids is, I think it's from 6 to 8. We're having a little get-together for the little kids
where will that be
in
at?
Cameron Park.
Cameron Park.
There's rides for them, there's a magician. Rick, help me out. A
Free
clown
skate.
or
Free skate,
free
skate
skating.
rental,
At the same time.
There's hot chocolate and so forth. And
hot chocolate, and other
Free
cookies.
We're hoping it doesn't
What
snow.
What other food's gonna be there?
Okay.
I think there's some hot dogs and so forth. And then that evening, from between 3rd Street and 4th Street, there'll be a band playing, or I guess you're singing, Rick? No?
Jerry.
Hey, okay, under that, I was gonna wait till the next thing around. I got, and I don't know, maybe the chief of police officer I talked to about this, but I'm pretty good friends with Carl Hogenstein, okay? And 2 of his employees are going to be driving cab New Year's Eve, just for rather than have people be trying to alleviate people being out drunk driving and stuff like that. Now, I know that from 3rd to 5th Street is supposed to be closed down or something like that.
That's the
Still,
area.
it's
But
open.
is there some place either behind City Hall? Because I know that the chief had also said about closing down Woodlawn Avenue and also Court Street in those areas. That they could park their cabs.
No, I don't think so.
Waiting
We're
on
closing
phone.
down.
That's only in the half block right there.
Just to have Lincoln over to with.
From 3rd to 5th, though, he was gonna close
Market
down
Street.
from Court to Woodlawn, is
Yeah.
what he said.
Market Street will be closed down. You won't be able to come out on Market from Court and Woodlawn. But you can drive, other than that half block at Market
So
Street,
you
you can
could
still
park
drive
somewhere
them.
behind the old Grand Derek's building or something there like that.
Maybe pull right up
And just-
4th Street.
Basically what they're doing, they're trying to be as quick or close as they can
Yeah.
if people are looking for rides to try.
Well, and everybody should know where to come too. It should be nice if you're gonna park behind the Market House or in
Absolutely.
the Edison lot or wherever you're gonna be.
Well, if Market
Absolutely.
Street's gonna be blocked
Yeah,
off,
I
if
think-
4th Street, there's gonna be barricades blocking off 4th, so you can't go Market Street both sides. Parking cab meets one of them barriers. So they're right there.
Okay,
So
and that won't be a
that's gonna be
problem,
the
right?
central location.
Okay, I'll
It's gonna be a
pass that,
central location
I'll
of
pass
parties.
that
So
on to him.
And what time's it over? The streets will be open by
I think
1:30.
1 o'clock.
Streets will be open by 1:30.
And I think that he has guys that's volunteering to stay around till like 3, so probably pretty much leave until the bars close and, people get home. And I think it's a good thing because they're willing to do that because of, although they're gonna get paid for it, but it's still gonna alleviate maybe some stuff with the police and stuff like that, having the drunk driving and stuff like that, so.
I try to tell them, like in the newspaper, that this is pretty much, we've been talking about this for years, we just want to get it off the ground and get it going. What works will be better for next year, and we'll add and subtract. So that's the goal. There's a lot of people involved in this, and I just get more calls on the kids, what's going to happen. So I'm glad you told me it's Cameron Park. I wasn't sure what's going to happen there. It's all ages, right?
Pardon?
All ages, or we're not
Well, I don't think,
10-year-old kids and.
probably up to, 10, 12
It's
years
a
old.
magician and puppeteers.
Okay.
The second thing, and I think I mentioned it to Terry, or I don't know if you or Jim or somebody, that was them when I brought the check over. The Eagles asked if they could put their banner
Yes.
on the gazebo, Sunbury Eagles 503, since they basically funded that part of the
Exactly. The Eagles paid for the children's park.
children's part of it.
Yeah.
There's no reason we do that.
Okay,
Anybody
I
else?
didn't know if it had to be approved or anything like that.
No, we want you to get
That's
recognized
the
like
only
that.
thing they had asked.
I mean, everything in Riverfest, we ask people to put signs up. We want to advertise the things in the community so everybody understands the positive things of our city.
And I'll take that back to them and tell them then that.
Yeah, with open arms, yeah, and we appreciate all they're doing. Anything else?
We're going to address the issue about the phones, using
Service Electric.
Source Electric. Where we stand there, Todd, on phones.
We had 2 proposals in the past that we were looking at. One was Verizon Wireless, one was Service Electric. We showed that Verizon Wireless saved us more money but that's where it was. And at that point in time, everyone seemingly lost interest about moving forward with it because of some of the adjustment requirements and new handsets and things like that, so just tabled it. If it's something you want to reconsider, you can bring it back up, for discussion, I guess.
That's
But it was tabled because nobody wanted to
That's a
make
cell
the
phone
change.
thing you're talking about.
No, this is house phones, I thought.
It was both the same thing. It was a matter of Verizon was going to supply us with the desk set replacements, which just used the wireless network for transporting the information or the call. And Service Electric provided a cable switchover. But they had a charge in there for phones. But even regardless of whether or not they charged for phones, the monthly savings was not as significant as what we have going with Verizon Wireless. So we can certainly come back and revisit and actually probably ask both groups or others to participate in providing us with bids for alternatives. Because any information we have from either of them at this point is extremely out of date.
There was issue to use them in parts of the building, period, cell phones. But yeah, let's bring it back up. Anything Tom can save money, we're gonna look at it. Anything else from the audience?
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the person that's being hired, the auditor or the financial,
Accounting supervisor, yes.
yeah. My question would be on this is, are they have any kind of training for that job presently? I'm just asking a question. Do they have a background, in accounting or anything
They have
like
a
that?
bachelor's degree in accounting.
Okay.
Correct.
My second question then would be, why do we need to pay somebody $18 an hour to train them?
It's like any new program, this is my opinion, right? If you any new program you walk into, no matter how much training you got, you're gonna need a little bit of time to, bring yourself into the fold of that,
Because the alternative is to actually ask the software company to train, and their rate's like $125 an hour.
Okay, but why would it take 1,000 hours? Because I think what I read
It's
was
not,
up to 1,000 hours, $18 an hour.
Because that person was going to be continuing to actually support requirements
Or is
over
it
the
now,
next year.
2 months or something, 3 months?
2.5, 6 weeks.
Now it's 6 weeks.
The only 10
That
hours
was
a
my
week.
question. From what I read, I didn't see anything in here. I'm sure I'm overlooking it, but it
The
seems-
training isn't particular to accounting, it's to the software.
Okay, and that seems like an excessive amount of time, 1,000 hours per train.
So that's what they're saying, it's
Beyond
down to
training.
6 weeks.
Okay. The other question I have, and again, maybe I'm misunderstanding some stuff here, I'm looking at this budget, is, are your people being funded by more than one source?
In the treasurer's office?
Yeah.
That's county and school
So
district.
the treasurer gets monies from the city, county, and whatever, okay? Because I just couldn't understand why a clerk was getting 31,000 and the treasurer was only getting 29,000.
Now, that's actually 2 jobs. Your full-time wages accommodate 2 jobs. There's 2 people accounted for in that full-time wage number.
Well, in that 31,
Yeah, it's Penny and the new person.
That's the
no,
city share.
no. I'm talking about, and I just was reviewing these as you were going over them. If the clerk in the code enforcement office is getting paid $31,760.
Code enforcement is not supported by county and school district.
Okay, I understand that. But my question was, now that it explains to me, since there's multiple entities paying, you're only showing the 29,000 that's the city expense.
Correct.
Okay. So that's like, that makes sense to me that you're paying a clerk more than you're paying your treasurer. Okay. Thank you for the comment.
All right. Everybody have a happy new year. Thank you for coming.
So you now have a $500,000 tax